The anime begins by showing a young man named Makoto Misumi who was summoned to the goddess world. Tsukuyomi, the moon god of the earth, tells Makoto that his parents are from the goddess world and have entered into a contract with the goddess to send Makoto to her world when the time comes. Tsukuyomi then brought Makoto before the goddess, where he was despised by the goddess because of his ordinary face. Because of her own preferences and beauty standards, the goddess abandons and throws Makoto to the edge of her world into the wasteland, secretly kidnapping 2 other people from Earth and sending them to her world as heroes. Makoto, who was thrown into the wasteland, reunites with Tsukuyomi, who helped Makoto and provided him with his blessing, and told him to be free and live as he wishes to in this new world. The scene then switches and shows Makoto, who has walked along the rocky cliff for 3 days in a row, but found absolutely no signs of life. Until finally, Makoto heard someone screaming for help. He then rushed to the source of the sound and found a 2-headed wolf monster attacking a female creature. Having obtained the power of the god, Makoto was able to easily defeat the wolf monster. He then gets acquainted with a female creature who calls herself Emma. Emma is an orc who has a pig-like face, typical of all orcs. Makoto then asked Emma about the existence of other humans around there, but she says that there are no humans in the wasteland. Emma intends to head to a mountain where she will offer herself as a sacrifice to the greater dragon named Shin, who inhabits the mountain. The offerings have been made by Emma's village for centuries and aim to reduce the fog so that the villagers do not run out of food, which can cause starvation. Emma then invites Makoto to visit her village, where she takes the time to teach him magic. Unexpectedly, Makoto can master magic very easily and in a short time. Emma, who saw this, gaped because no one had ever mastered magic so quickly. She then checked Makoto's level and was even more surprised when she found out he was still at level 1. Because of Emma's kindness, Makoto plans to go to the mountain and try to kill the greater dragon so that Emma and the other villagers will no longer have to be sacrificed. Arriving there, and after destroying the greater dragon's shrine gates, Makoto uses his magic power combined with Tsukuyomi's divine power to fight Shin the greater dragon. But as it turned out, Makoto had quite a hard time dealing with Shin, until finally, he was caught in the dragon's trap. Because Shin has the power to read minds, the dragon can find out about Makoto's past, who turned out to have rejected a beautiful girl named Hasegawa's declaration of love. Makoto, angry that Shin had presumptuously entered his mind and learned of his past, then destroyed the cage. After knowing about Makoto's past, the greater dragon takes an interest in Makoto and decides to form a contract with him, where apparently, the stronger being will become the master of the weaker, which he agrees to. But because it turns out that Makoto's strength exceeds Shin's expectations, the greater dragon becomes his servant instead. After establishing a contract with Makoto, the greater dragon transforms into a beautiful girl and invites him to the Demiplane, an unnamed special alternate space created through Shin's power. Shin looks surprised because the atmosphere of the Demiplane, which was previously pitch black and scary, had now turned into fertile land with a beautiful view of the situation on Earth. She thought that the Demiplane's changes were due to the magic contract between Shin and Makoto, and that the major changes were due to Makoto's more domineering influence and power. After that, Makoto and Shin visited Emma's village, where they then held a big party because they no longer had to sacrifice for the greater dragon. All this time, the villagers had been tricked by the demons who took advantage when the greater dragon was hibernating. Makoto then suggested that Emma and the rest of the village move to Shin's Demiplane because it was much more comfortable there, and they wouldn't run out of food because the soil was very fertile. Emma and the villagers followed Makoto's advice, and they immediately built a new village on the Demiplane, then made Makoto their leader. Makoto's life with Shin, Emma, and the villagers seemed safe and comfortable. But Makoto reminisced about his past with his parents. Therefore, Makoto is determined to be the strongest and prove to the goddess that he is capable of being a hero as his parents expected. Makoto often helps the villagers do their jobs, such as cutting down trees, which he can easily do. One day, Shin approached Makoto and asked him for help to heal a male dwarf named Baron, who was injured due to an attack from the Black Spider of Calamity. Before he could help Baron, suddenly, the Black Spider of Calamity broke into the Demiplane and attacked Makoto. Makoto seems overwhelmed by the Black Spider because the monster can regenerate very quickly when the body is injured. Makoto managed to land a fatal hit, but the Black Spider managed to corner him and stab him in the stomach. Makoto managed to get up and put all his magic power into defeating the Black Spider. but he was unable to overthrow the black spider and finally collapsed unconscious. Seeing this, Shin rushed to save Makoto and realized that the black spider had no intention of killing Makoto and instead liked him. Shin then suggested that the black spider enters into a contract with Makoto, and the black spider agreed. Like Shin, the black spider became Makoto's servant because of the large difference in their strength. After recovering from his wound, Baron begged Makoto to allow himself and his people to stay in Demiplane. Makoto immediately agreed to Baron's request, but Shin made a condition for Baron and his people to build a city and make weapons. Baron then agreed to these requirements. Makoto then gave a new name to Shin, namely Tomoe, and gave the name Mio to the black spider. Not only Tomoe and Mio, but their followers, namely the Mist Lizard and Alk, lived on the Demiplane side by side with Emma and the orcs and Baron and the dwarves. They all then crowned Makoto as their leader. One day, Makoto exited the Demiplane and accidentally met a human girl who was very frightened when she saw Makoto's appearance. When Makoto chases her and intends to explain everything, suddenly, he arrives at a city inhabited by humans. But Makoto was considered an enemy, and they had prepared to launch an attack on him. Seeing the resistance, Makoto tried to explain the purpose of his coming there. But it turns out that Makoto lost his ability to communicate in human language because the goddess had cursed him when she exiled him to the wasteland. Therefore, Makoto had no choice but to return to the Demiplane. Makoto then tells everything that has happened to his friends, and Tomoe says that the humans are afraid of Makoto because he has tremendous magical energy that radiates clearly. Hence, they think that Makoto is very dangerous. Tomoe and Mio then help Makoto learn human language because it turns out that they master human language very well. Meanwhile, the elderly dwarf made a magic ring that could suppress Makoto's magical energy so it wouldn't radiate out and scare everyone away. After that, Makoto, Tomoe, and Mio visited Zetsuya, a city directly bordering the wasteland, disguised as merchants. They then went to the Adventurers Guild and intended to register themselves as adventurers. But before that, they would be level checked first. Unexpectedly, Tomoe and Mio had levels that reached 1,500, which was the highest level of the adventurers there, while Makoto was still at level 1. After that, a little girl came up to Makoto and Mio and begged them to help her find the whereabouts of her older sister, Toa, who disappeared while looking for work. Elsewhere, Tomoe, guarding her belongings, was attacked by a group of bandits who wanted to steal the belongings. But Tomoe could easily defeat the bandits and bring one of them before Makoto for interrogation. While reading the bandits' minds, Tomoe and Makoto finally find out that the bandits are related to Rinan and Toa. It turns out that Toa is being held captive by the bandits because she has a debt to them and cannot pay it off. Because Toa's face is very similar to Hasegawa's, Makoto asks Tomoe and Mio to save Toa. On the other hand, by using his power, Makoto finally finds out that Rinan conspires with the adventurers to frame him. Rinan was forced to do that because she needed money to save her sister. Meanwhile, Tomoe and Mio manage to find Toa's whereabouts and save her. However, they encounter resistance from a group of bandits led by Mills Ace. Tomoe and Mio were initially reluctant to fight them as it was a waste of time. But because Mills insulted Makoto, they immediately got angry and attacked Mills and his men and could easily defeat them all. However, Tomoe and Mio engage in a fierce battle to determine who is the best among them, which instead causes severe damage to the city. Toa and Rinan then thanked Makoto for saving them. Makoto then decides to head to the next town and asks Tomoe to go on an adventure on her own so that she can increase her level and match Mio's level. Together with Mio, Toa, Rinan, and several other adventurers, Makoto headed towards the town of Tsuje. However, on the way, they are confronted by a group of monsters called Ruby Eyes. Makoto then asks Mio to destroy the monsters. However, Toa and the others told Makoto not to destroy Ruby Eye's body because it contained valuable materials with a very high selling value. Because Mio unable to do so, Makoto finally has to intervene himself to defeat Ruby Eye by attacking directly to the monster's weak point, so that others can take the valuable material inside the Ruby Eye monster's body. After arriving in the city of Tsuje, Makoto enrolls as an adventurer and takes a job offered by the Rembrandt Company. Because the job only requested some valuable materials from Ruby Eye, Makoto immediately came to see the company owner, a man named Patrick Rembrandt, to hand over the requested item. Makoto then asks why Patrick needs materials from Ruby Eye. Patrick replied that he needed the material to make a medicinal potion that was claimed to be able to heal his wife and daughters, who were affected by a level 8 terrible curse. Makoto then offers to help by sending one of his party members, a man named Hazal, an alchemist, to help Makoto make the medicinal herbs. After that, Makoto takes the exam to become a merchant and own a company. Unexpectedly, the test to become a merchant turned out to be quite easy, and he managed to complete it. Makoto then takes Hazal to Patrick's house to make medicinal herbs. However, when Patrick was about to give the potion to his wife and daughters, he encountered resistance from them, which caused him to be seriously injured. Seeing this, Makoto decided to help Patrick. With Makoto's help, Patrick finally managed to make his wife and daughters drink it and cure them all. Long story short, Makoto was with Mio and Tomoe when they were attacked by a group of adventurers who wanted to finish off Makoto. One of them offered Tomoe and Mio a deal to join them in exchange for gold coins. Unexpectedly, Mio accepted the offer. They then attacked Makoto and Tomoe, but Tomoe can easily defeat them. While being pressed, one of the groups of adventurers then told Mio to fight Tomoe, but Mio refused because it turned out that she was only using them. Tomoe managed to kill the attackers. But when she was about to kill a man named Lime Lade, the last person alive, Tomoe stopped because she could read Lime's mind, which turned out to be very worried about the condition of the children living in an orphanage. Lime, who finally gave up on Makoto and his companion, reveals that he is the adventurer who has caused the curse of the Rembrandt family. Lime was initially irritated at the Rembrandt company for always acting arbitrarily on the townspeople, including their hired adventurers. Lime then went to a female shaman and asked her to curse the Rembrandts. But Lime just realized that he had been tricked by the shaman because it turned out to be a terrible curse, even though he asked for a light curse. Lime, who deeply regretted his actions, finally decided to admit his mistake and apologize to Patrick Rembrandt. Lime tells Tomoe that he became an adventurer because he wanted to protect the children in the orphanage and help them as much as possible to survive. Hearing this, Tomoe became sympathetic to Lime and asked him to be her spy in the city and promised to protect the children in the orphanage. Not only that, but she then gave him a katana which was forged directly by elder dwarf Smith. Lime was pleased with the gift and promised to do whatever she ordered. Long story short, Makoto orders Tomoe to train adventurers who are members of Toa's party. Tomoe trains them very disciplined with strenuous physical training. Besides physical training, she then helps them strategize and work together by relying on their abilities. Due to Tomoe's intense training, Toa's party became the most powerful group of adventurers in the city and was respected by many. On the other hand, Patrick Rembrandt suggested that Makoto set up a trading company after successfully passing his exams. Patrick says that he will help him set up the company in a neutral city that is not affiliated with any kingdom so that Makoto can freely run his business. Makoto agrees to Patrick's suggestion and establishes a trading company called Kuzunoha Company, specializing in the production and sale of medicines. To start production, Makoto needs an ambrosia flower that is claimed to cure several diseases. He gets information about the ambrosia flower garden in the outside world. Still, Makoto and his friends get a warning not to approach, let alone harvest the flower because the flower garden is guarded by the elves. Even so, Makoto was determined to go there. One night, Mio and Tomoe sense Makoto repeatedly dying during archery training. Tomoe deduces when Makoto clears his mind to focus on the target, he unintentionally merges with the environment. He dies for a split second, which feels to Tomoe and Mio that Makoto has ended his own life. This has caused Makoto's divine energy to increase to God's level. If it continues, the goddess who banished Makoto to the wasteland will see him as a rival and try to kill him. Makoto then got a new magical outfit and magic ring from the elder dwarf because his divine energy increased so much that his old outfit could no longer withstand its power. After that, Makoto was approached by a woman prostitute who wanted to trap him. Makoto manages to escape the trap but gets into a misunderstanding with Tomoe and Mio, making him panic and run away from them. Realizing her mistake, Mio immediately went to Makoto and apologized to him. Makoto then forgives Mio and invites her to go to the ambrosia flower garden to help him negotiate with the elves. Once there, Makoto realized that they were being watched. Sure enough, not long after, a group of adventurers attacked Makoto and Mio, one of whom was a woman prostitute who was trying to frame Makoto. However, Mio immediately trapped them with a net to complicate their movement. When Makoto and Mio were about to enter the flower garden, suddenly they were attacked by two female forest elves named Aqua and Eris, who were assigned to catch or kill anyone who wanted to steal the ambrosia flower. On the other hand, the adventurers managed to break free and were about to attack Makoto and Mio. But Makoto transfers them to the demiplane with Tomoe's help. After successfully cornering Aqua and Eris, Makoto tried to convince them that he was a merchant and had no intention of stealing the ambrosia flower. Hearing that, they then took Makoto and Mio to their village and met the elders led by a male forest elf named Nogastori. In the meeting, Nogastori's son, Adono, seemed angry because the barrier protecting the forest was weakening. After that, Makoto and Mio meet a male elf named Mondo, who is none other than Aqua and Eris' master. Mio suspects Mondo has been possessed by a spirit and secretly listens to a telepathic conversation between Adono and an unknown person discussing demons. Mio immediately reported this to Makoto. Hearing that, Makoto immediately asked Mio to switch places with Tomoe. Meanwhile, at the party, a spirit frees itself from Mondo's body and drains the life of Adono, who instantly kills him for cooperating with the demons. Makoto then identified the spirit as a male leech and rushed to catch it. The leech tried to fight Makoto, but he could easily defeat him. After Tomoe came, she immediately opened the portal and brought the leech to the demiplane. Tomoe then reveals to Nogastori and the villagers that she is the dragon that created the barrier at Nogastori's request many years ago. Because they held high regard for the greater dragon who had protected the village, they knelt before Tomoe. However, Tomoe says that she is Makoto's follower and asks the villagers to respect Makoto. After that, Makoto and the others return to the demiplane to interrogate the leech. He then explains that he was once a human and accidentally became a leech while trying to become Grant, a human who can freely travel between alternate worlds like the gods. Hearing this, Tomoe reveals that the leech has gone the wrong way because the Grants are not humans who can travel. They are normal humans who accidentally travel across the world, thus earning the title of Grant. Realizing that he had wasted his entire life on an impossible goal, he happily accepted Tomoe's suggestion to make a contract with Makoto and teach him about advanced sorcery. After entering into a contract with Makoto, the leech transforms into a handsome young man named Shiki. On the other hand, the adventurers who previously attacked Makoto and Mio in the Ambrosia Flower Garden decided to escape from the demiplane by creating a magical explosion that caused Tomoe to be in pain. Makoto and Shiki then rushed to the scene and were able to heal the injured villagers. Makoto realized that the explosion had opened a portal to the outside world. When he examines the memory fragment of one of the male adventurers who had been disabled, Makoto sees that the adventurers are trying to steal a magical item on the demiplane. And when the guards intervene in their movement, one of Makoto's magical rings explodes and kills Tomoe's men and other villagers. Makoto then follows an adventurer who manages to escape, and she turns out to be a woman prostitute who tries to frame him. She tries to beg Makoto for mercy, but he coldly kills her in revenge for the villagers killed because of the adventurer. Shiki then tells Makoto that he can see other people's memory fragments, one of Tomoe's strengths, indicating that they implicitly trust each other. After that, Makoto plans to visit Rotgard Academy to learn more about the world, the goddess, and humans. Since Makoto would probably be away for quite a while, he just brought Shiki with him. However, just as they were preparing to teleport, the goddess suddenly found Makoto, disrupted his teleportation, and sent him to a distant battlefield where two demon warriors attacked him and severed his fingers. The two soldiers are a woman named Sophia and a young man named Lancer. They are predicted to be the strongest adventurers globally and intend to kill Makoto. The two then explain that they had joined the demon army to destroy humanity. Makoto then uses all his strength to fight them, which immediately overwhelms Lancer with his magic and destroys Sophia's legendary sword. Makoto was involved in a fierce battle with Sophia and Lancer, and because of his great strength, Makoto was able to defeat them and destroy the demon army. Makoto finally manages to teleport, leaving Lancer and Sophia alive, who vows to take revenge. Long story short, Makoto eventually recovered from his injuries, and his finger was back intact. Shiki said that the goddess used Makoto to destroy the demon army and was probably keeping an eye on him. After that, Tomoe revealed that she had created another fragment made of her energy and Makoto's energy combined. Makoto then named her Komoe, and Mio looked very angry when Komoe called Makoto Papa. After that, the villagers throw a party to celebrate the opening of Makoto's shop, where Makoto decides that his future looks bright. However, the party is interrupted by another fight between Mio and Tomoe over Makoto, which causes Makoto to change his mind and think that his future is quite disturbing. That's the end of the season of this anime. The moral that can be learned from this anime is not to judge a book by its cover. Like Makoto, even though he is underestimated by having an ordinary appearance, he turns out to have extraordinary power to help his friends.